Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 189 right now. Excellent, awesome, interesting card. Our regular guest, of course, is Nick Kalikas. His website is MMAOddsBreaker.com, and Nick Kalikas, of course, opens lines. He consults for numerous high-profile sports books. He's the best guy I could possibly want to, and you could possibly want as a viewer, to give opinions and analysis on these lines. And also joining us over the phone, MMA analyst Brian Hemminger. All right, guys, Conor McGregor and Chad Mendes. Now, Conor McGregor, minus 165, I'm seeing right now at 5 dimes. It's going up from minus 140. I love the hype as much as the next guy, but we all know the deal with McGregor, right? He's never been tested. Chad Mendes is going to be the toughest fight that he's ever had. There also might be matchup problems here for McGregor. Is this line all hype? Brian Hemminger, who should be the favorite here?
I think it is definitely the hype. Conor McGregor is by far the more popular fighter, but Chad Mendes is the better fighter, the more battle-tested fighter. Chad Mendes, his only 2 career losses are to Jose Aldo, and the last one was a really competitive title fight, 5 rounds. So with McGregor, yeah, he's earned it with the fights that he's had in the UFC, but they've kind of been picture-perfect made opponents for him, where he hasn't had his wrestling tested. He's been thrown in there against guys that are probably going to stand with him, against guys that don't have great chins, and guys that are beatable. So McGregor's looked incredible against him, and he is a talented fighter, but I think Chad Mendes is not just the best fighter he's ever faced, he's the best fighter he's ever faced by a landslide.
Right. So is this just a no-brainer situation where the hype is causing this line to be way off? Because we think of betting markets as sort of immune to hype, that, all the talk on the sports shows might make it seem like McGregor should be a big favorite, but that the betting markets make it right, and that the lines wouldn't get thrown off by hype. But you think that that's not the case, that is actually what's happening here?
Yeah, there's hype, and then there's Conor McGregor.
Right.
Like, this guy just transcends it. I mean, he was on Conan, and Conan seemed shell-shocked just being next to the guy. So he has this electric ability that gravitates people to him, and sometimes a lot of people, and I'm telling you, a lot of people just get completely blinded by this star ability that this kid has, and they don't really think about the actual matchup. They just think that this guy is unstoppable.
Right,
and
Nick Kalikas, let's go to you. We tend to think of, us, professional analysts of sports betting odds tend to think of markets, of odds markets, as immune to hype. That maybe, a guy like McGregor talks a good game, but that the sports betting markets won't be affected by that. But is that not really the case? I mean, do these lines get bet out of whack when you have someone with the star power and hype power that McGregor has?
Yeah, it's not the case for MMA in general. I mean, the hype I got to factor in all the time on the odds. And you know what the interesting thing here is? I actually contemplated opening McGregor as a favorite. I actually opened the original line, minus 130 for Mendes, even money for McGregor, and the line's since flipped. But initially, I wanted to open McGregor as a little bit of a favorite, as a slight favorite, because I thought the action would probably come in that way, especially being that Mendes is coming in on short notice. Obviously, McGregor had a full camp, but stylistically, the way these guys match up, honestly, the more I thought about it and going back and watching footage a little bit, if for those out there that have probably studied film on this fight, the Duffy fight is out there. One of McGregor's, his last loss, actually. He's only lost a couple times, and it was both by sub. So looking back at his last loss, which was years ago, and he's improved significantly since then. But that being said, it just sticks in your mind how he made one mistake, he got taken down really fast and submitted really fast. Mm-hmm. And since then, the level of competition, like Brian mentioned, I mean, Mendes is by far the best fighter that he's faced. So, in my opinion, and a lot of decent opinions out there believe stylistically it is a bad matchup for McGregor. So, I took the hype kind of out of the equation a little bit and opened Mendes a slight favorite, and it was a mistake. I mean, obviously, look at the line now.
Was it a mistake, though? Because, now the books, it seems like, are going to need Mendes big, and they're going to be on the right side of that.
Well, it was a mistake just for this factor either. I could have opened the other way. I could open McGregor minus 130 and made him lay juice, and they still would have bet it up. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think if they were going to bet McGregor, they were going to bet it anyway. So, yeah, I probably should have slightly leaned towards McGregor either way. But regardless, the books are definitely in a pretty good spot here because, like you said, the hype on McGregor, he is a very talented fighter. I mean, striking wise, I think the guy can compete with the best. Sure. I think against Jose Aldo, that would have been an interesting fight, honestly, because the mental angle of things in that particular matchup and the ability to strike for McGregor, how much power he has, and that would have been more of a striker versus striker matchup. I think he honestly had a better shot against Jose Aldo, which is crazy, I know, to most. But, I mean, this is a different fight, so a different matchup entirely, a different thing he has to worry about with Mendes. Mendes is a very intelligent fighter, so, yeah, I do think this is a worse fight for him. to be
So it
honest with
sounds
you.
like
But
it's going to be a huge decision then for the books. I mean, if McGregor does win, is that going to be a big loss for the books?
I mean, something that it'll definitely be a decent loss, but
Right.
it's something that we could obviously make up not to, I mean, the next couple cards. I mean, this fight week, there's like 4 UFC events within a week span, basically, give or take a few days. So that's crazy enough. And I'm sure the sports books will end up making up for it, even if they do suffer a loss, which is possible. I mean, I'm
Right.
not counting that out, honestly, because McGregor has such good striking that if he's able to sprawl and brawl a little bit here, then, on the feet, Mendes is no slouch at all, but with the length that Conor has on him right now, and, with maybe Mendes fighting for takedowns, if he's not successful, might wear him out a little bit more. I know he's always in pretty good shape, but the fact is it is short notice regardless. You know what I mean? So he's only had a couple weeks to actually train for this fight, even if he is in good shape. So I think that it does benefit McGregor if it stays on the feet, even though Mendes could knock him out. I'm not counting that out at all, but I think it's a more likely scenario that McGregor does win if it stays on the feet, but I really don't think it will. I think what's going to probably happen is Mendes getting an early takedown, and if he does get an early takedown, a lot of people are expecting Mendes to maybe just control the fight, drop some ground and pound. I think he's going to go for position here and maybe take his back and sub him out as well.
Right.
So I think, I mean, the hype is definitely real for McGregor, and he deserves some of it, but not to this point. No way.
So do you think that are you expecting like big sharp action closer to a fight time coming back on Mendes, or do you think this line is just going to keep climbing? I mean, do you think it's going to close closer to even, or do you think that McGregor will actually climb up closer to minus 200?
I don't know if the sharp action, this is crazy to say too, but I don't know if the real sharp action is going to have an impact even if they do come in on Mendes overall. That's how much crazy hype it is, because, I mean, there's bits of trickles of sharp money coming in already. You know what I mean? On Mendes. So, and look, the line keeps going the other way. So that's how much action right now the sportsbooks are getting. It's ridiculous the amounts of bets people are placing on McGregor. And in my mind, popularity-wise, I think Ronda Rousey is the most popular fighter in the UFC right now. I mean, it's hard to argue that, right? McGregor has made a strong case to be number 2 behind Rousey in that. I mean, John Jones, especially with the Jones situation, with GSP retiring, with a lot of the factors that have come into play lately, it's hard to argue that Conor McGregor is not the second most popular fighter in the UFC.
Sure. Nick Kalikas and Brian Hemminger from MMAOddsBreaker.com. Thanks so much.